Everybody, it's Patrick at the Pitch Deck. Welcome to my lesson for Kano Quick Math. It's going to help you do all of the mental combo maths, however complex the combo might be. And that way your opponent won't have to call a slow play because you're doing it way faster than you might have to think. You will still have to do the addition and subtraction when it comes to AB possibilities or combo in terms of more pieces into your combo. So we're going to take a look at some of the most basics and then go towards your bread and butter and then larger combos that might need it because you might be going up against a Bravo that you might want to try to pitch deck. So let's take a look at your bread and butter, which would be Wildfire, the one and only spell that might limit how powerful Kano might be towards the future. And we have a Kano specialization called Blazing. So for these two cards, Wildfire and Blazing will start out with. So let's go ahead and get an example of Wildfire and Blazing together. Now, Wildfire, if you fully pump this to 6, that's the maximum you can do with staff and nodes, Metacarpus nodes that is. Blazing's going to come in for 12 because Wildfire did 6 damage and is doing an additional 6 for the pump itself. So Wildfire will do 6 and basically you just double it to 12. The total damage for this will be 18. Now let's say your opponent wants to AB1 the Wildfire. Now the entire combo will drop 3 points. Wildfire is going to go down to 5, which will then make Wildfire buff the Blazing to 10 because of 5 plus 5. 5 damage that it did plus the 5 that is going to be buffed. So the total from this is going to be 15. So you kind of can see a pattern here. If we do AP2, it'll be 4 to 8 because 4 times 2 is 8. From those, you'll have a total damage for 12. 3 and 6 and 9 for the AB3. So for this pattern, we'll see that the subtraction of Wildfire is going to be a -1. And then every single time that it's -1, it's going to minus the Blazing by 2. So that's the entire total of the differences of the totals will be a -3. So we can apply this to how Blazing gets its plus or -2, is that it gets the damage from Wildfire itself, that's +1, and then the buff from Wildfire, that's another +1. So that's the +2. It has a base of +2 when it comes to Wildfire. Now let's get into a more solidification of how we can prove this with +1 for Wildfire, and then Blazing gets its +2 when it's included with Wildfire. So let's add a second Wildfire to the mix. Wildfire is going to be coming in for 6, and we're going to only pump that to 6 and no other pumps for the second Wildfire. Wildfire has a base of 4. The plus from 6 on this first Wildfire will give it to 10. So that in itself is 6 plus 10, so that's 16 damage already done. Now, Blazing's going to have 16 damage just from that alone. However, it's in separate forms. Separate forms of 6 and 10, that's a +1 and another +1. Wildfire's buff for both of those is going to be another +1 and another +1. So 16 and 16 will be 32 towards the total amount that Blazing's going to receive. So the total damage itself for this 3-card combo is going to be 48. Now we're going to show you why that is a +6 or -6, because remember we said Wildfire was +1 and Blazing combined is going to be +1 +1. So with a AB1 on the very first Wildfire, we're going to see 5 instead of 6. It's going to transfer over to the second one. It's going to be 9. The total amount that Blazing's going to have is going to be 14 times 2. Because 5 and 9 is 14. Multiply that, it's going to be 28 damage for that Blazing. Now the total amount for that combo, because the AB1 Wildfire number 1 will be 42. So whenever you see the difference between combo 1 and combo 2 between the AB1 and the 0AB, is that it's going to have a -6. So this proves our theory. So let's extend this theory to Blazings that only have one Wildfire but double Blazing. So Wildfire is going to have a 6 like before. Double Blazing is going to have the first Blazing coming in for 12. Then the next one's going to come in for 24. That 3-card combo is going to have a total damage of 42. Now, if they AB1 Wildfire, because that is the most damage they can save by AB1ing at least 1 card, it'll drop it down to 5. Blazing 1's going to go to 10. Blazing number 2 is going to go down to 20. So the total damage for this is going to be 35. Now from this, it's going to have a -7 difference between combo 1 and combo 2, in where they AB1 the second combo, preventing 7 damage. Now let's do the math here. Since they AB'd 1 Wildfire, it'll drop Wildfire 1 point. Then the first Blazing in our second combo that got AB'd will drop 2 points, and then the second Blazing will drop 4 points. Now that's where the -7 comes from. Remember that Wildfire is multiplicative across all spells, so it's going to reach further the damage that it prevents the more spells that you have in line. And it's not just Blazing, it'll also affect other spells that are just going to be things that aren't Blazing that accounts for 2 itself. It may be a prog or lesson. So we're going to look across those and see how it is, but it's just a keynote to remember. The more Blazings that you add, the plus or minus on the effect of those Blazings will double each time. So now we took a look at 2 Blazings. If we added a 3rd Blazing, they probably still wouldn't live, but it's worth it to take a look and solidify this, where if you add 3 Blazings to a Wildfire chain, if they AB1 the Wildfire, it's going to impact it by -2 on the first one, -4 on the second one, and -8 on the third one. Now let's look at a combo that has a middle spell between Wildfire and Blazing that's non-multiplicative, meaning if it's not Red Flare. So we'll use the example of Prog. So with Wildfire, Prog, and Blazing, usually this is the least amount of resources that you would get for a combo for Wildfire. So this is an easier one to remember. You'll have 6, which is the Wildfire pump towards maximum, and that's the only thing that you can spend for the buffs. Prog will go to 7, which will mean that Blazing will go to 19. So the total damage is going to be 32. Now let's say the AB1 on Wildfire happens. It'll drop it down -1, which is 5, which drops Prog down -1, which is 6, which means Blazing goes down 3 points, which is 16. Now the total difference between combo 1 and combo 2 when they add an AB is going to be 5 points. 32 minus 27 between the two totals of each combo will be -5. Let's break it down. Wildfire is -1 like we normally say. Prog is going to be ±2, and then Blazing is going to be ±2. From the additional of all of these added will be a ±5. Now we can add more proof that Prog is going to be a ±2 by adding a node trigger, because maybe we actually have more resources to put into it. So Prog goes to 8. So it's going to be 6 + 8 + 20 equals 34. The difference between this and no AB on the original concept is 2 damage. Now we can even further this by subtracting it. So let's say, for instance, they AB the Prog instead of the Wildfire. Who knows why they do that? Maybe they just want to do that. But for this example, we'll show that Prog, instead of getting 7, they'll AB that Prog. It'll be 6 + 6 + 18, which is what Blazing will get. The entire damage itself will be 30. And if you look further into AB2 on the Prog to change to 5, it'll be 6 + 5 + 17, will drop it down to 28. Now let's take a look at a 4-card combo, because maybe you have a couple of pots and you might need that extension because they have such a heavy arcane barrier emphasis on their equipment. So with the normal buffs of double Prog and Blazing, Wildfire is going to come in for 6. Double Prog is 7 + 7, which makes Blazing in total will do 26 damage. All in all, it's going to be 46. Now again, they'll AB1 in the combo number 2 on Wildfire. So instead of 6, it's going to drop it down to 5, which now Prog number 1 will be 6, Prog number 2 will be 6, and then that makes Blazing 22. Now let's compare combo 1 with combo 2. 46 for the combo number 1 total to 39, so that's -7. Now that solidifies our theory that we added another non-multiplicative card into the combo, making it 4 cards instead of 3, and that adds a plus or minus 2 towards it, making it plus or minus 7. Now we could go into the whole bit of flares into the combo, but they act as a mini wildfire like I had mentioned before, if they are in the middle with wildfire, flare, and blazing, but it doesn't really carry over into the second blazing where it's multiplicative like double wildfire, double blazing. So we really won't get into that. Kind of just account for it to be a double wildfire where it's 1, 1, and then 4 because of the first blazing getting double itself. So there are also 5 card spells, but we also won't get into that. I hope that you have enough information that you know that wildfires are going to be plus or minus 1, and then each blazing that's added to the chain will double or subtract the plus or minus count if there's stuff in the middle. Of course, there should be stuff in the middle to help extend and make sure you guarantee the kill, but that is my lesson for today. Hopefully you learned enough so that you can go in there with quick math ready to go.